A question we're often asked by people who are considering moving to Paraguay is the issue of opening a business here. What I see commonly amongst people who are asking these questions is that not infrequently people tend to look at a place like Paraguay and think, compared to the place that they came from in terms of its economy, it really doesn't rate in regards to what they may be able to make or charge for their service or their product. And so a lot of people just simply discount it as a possibility. Others are just content with making their money online or from their investments, however they're making it. And so they look at Paraguay as a place to move, but not necessarily a place to consider starting any sort of enterprise. And I understand those perspectives, but before we go to the question, I'd like to ask a question myself, and that is, what happens in the event that the criminally insane who are running this global mental asylum decide to shut off the supply of cash, close down the banking system, or somehow interrupt the flow of funds around the world? It may be in the war against everything, or there may be some other situation that may arise at any time that could impact on our ability to access funds from one country into Paraguay. I think even a few years ago, to ask such a question, you would have been met with laughter and chuckles, but the flow of money into Paraguay or anywhere else could be interrupted by some sort of situation or event, not only from the lunatics that are running the asylum, but also from some black swan event, and it seems that there's several on the horizon that they're currently cooking up. So today you might be able to get your money from your investments or your overseas job, whatever you're doing online. Who knows what tomorrow brings? So for that reason alone, I think that this discussion about the viability of foreigners moving here and being able to open up some sort of enterprise here, it really does need serious consideration. And as always, this is just my opinion, and it's based on the information and knowledge that I've gleaned from living in this particular part of Paraguay. What I'm about to say doesn't necessarily extend to every other place in the country, but this is in regards to my experience and just my 2 cents worth. The first thing that I'd say to anyone that's thinking about the possibility of opening a business in Paraguay is that there is some good news. This country is hardwired to allow people to succeed in business. It's relatively very low tax, low regulation, reasonable compliance, and in many areas it's low competition. So I think there's many opportunities here for enterprising people coming in and maybe spotting the gap in the market and going for it. The other good thing to note is that it is very open to people moving here, going through the necessary processes and opening up a business. It's not a problem. There is a pathway there for you to be able to move to Paraguay and potentially open up a business. There's particular sectors that I believe present real opportunity for growth and for people coming in and perhaps looking at things in a different way or bringing skills, knowledge, qualifications, experience from other places. The government is very vocal in Paraguay about supporting tourism. There's been a lot in the press, and you often hear the banter about the government being very committed to seeing tourism increase, and for good reason. At present, the tourist industry here is very much in its early stages of growth. Paraguay has not traditionally been a Mecca tourist destination. It's not the most amazing place on the planet when it comes to ancient ruins or beaches or whatever else, but it's got some amazing places to go, and there is much to be seen and done here. Whenever you've got the government beating the drums wanting to see growth in that area, it's always a good thing. And I think that as foreigners coming into a country, well, we obviously have the reach in the countries we've come from, so that gives us some level of, I guess, basis to think that we can do something worthwhile and get something up and running. And when we're talking about tourism, what am I talking about? Well, everything from transportation to tours to arranging events, hospitality. it's kind of connected to tourism, I guess, but in the region that we're in, for example, in my opinion, there's a real need for greater variety of restaurants and cafes. In Qroo, for example, there's many restaurants here, but the great majority of them are very much Paraguayan oriented, for good reason. They have asados and empanadas, really traditional, classic Paraguayan food, and it's delicious. But there's very few other internationally oriented restaurants and cuisines. So I think anything in the hospitality industry that brought innovation, that was something different and maybe brought a different flavour to the table, well, I'd be there, and I know a lot of other people that would be there. We were just at a cafe this morning and it was full. And to be honest with you, it's not the best cafe I've ever been to. It's not bad, but you could definitely see some improvement in that area, and I see no reason why you couldn't make a go of it if you were running a quality operation. The other good thing that I didn't mention earlier is that we're talking about largely a cash economy. There's a lot of cash in this country. A lot of things are paid by cash. When we go to the cafe, we generally pay in cash. So that bodes well for running a business like a cafe or a restaurant. And I see no reason why, if you did it well, you couldn't make a go of it here. Technical innovation, what do I mean by that? Anything really. This country is a developing country. I don't want to suggest that Paraguay is technically backward, but there's definitely innovations in different industries that haven't made its way here yet. You would be the best person to judge based on whatever you're into. But I know in the different spheres of employment and expertise that I've come here with, I look around and there's really definitely areas that could perhaps be improved or innovated on. So any technical area of innovation that you can bring to this country, potentially it would be something that you could perhaps consider building a business on. There are some competent tradespeople here in all areas of endeavour, builders, plumbers, electricians, but my goodness, there's a lot that aren't so competent. And I do think that in terms of those particular trades and several other trades, if you were to come here from another country, like for example, the countries that I've previously resided in, I think that you would have something valuable to offer. The next question that anyone would ask, well, would there be a market for it? Could I make a living here? Well, there's a lot of foreigners moving here. And I know that those that have been here for a long time and the ones that are arriving would be hoping and expecting the standard of trades competence that maybe they've enjoyed in the country that they've come from, particularly in those areas that you really don't want to get it wrong. Electricians, plumbers, builders. So anyone that was technically competent in those areas, I see no reason why you couldn't come here and at least potentially make a go of it. Can foreigners move here and make a go of it in business? Well, I can say 100% they can, and the reason why I can be so confident is because I know a lot of people who have moved here who have made a go of it. Restaurateurs, car hire services, people who are making things like handbags, all sorts of people that I know who have moved here, who have set up, made businesses here and are doing very well. So it's not a hypothetical. There's many foreigners that have moved here and have done very well for themselves. The other reason why I'm so confident that you can move to Paraguay and make a go of it is because it's been done for many decades in the past. The Mennonites, for example, they move up to the most inhospitable part of the country. They don't only survive, they thrive. And a massive part of their success has been their ability to build industry, to build business. They're exceptional people, absolutely. And it's not something that I would suggest anyone just does flippantly, moving up to the far reaches of the outback of Paraguay, but it does go to show that it can be done. The common factor that I see in all the people I know who have come to Paraguay, set up business and made a go of it, is that they have just done it. They haven't thought of all the reasons why it's not possible, or they haven't turned their noses up at the opportunities that are present to them here. They've just got on and done it. They're exceptional people and they've done exceptional things. But I truly believe that we are all potentially exceptional people. We all have something great within us. And I'm not just saying this because it's a nice thing to say, but it's not until you step outside of that controlled matrix and come to a place where the only thing holding you back is your own limitations that you're placing on yourself, that you actually start to realise the potential that's within you. But I think it's really important to think outside of the square. It may not be the thing that you did all of your life in the place that you've moved from. It might be an interest or a hobby that you had years ago, something that you have within you that you can come here and think, well, I can do that. I can make a go of that thing. And you might be surprised that it might be something that you never dreamt you would ever find yourself doing, but it just may so happen that it may fit in very well to this country. And it may be something that if you were to bring it here, it would be an incredible innovation. Or, for example, we have someone in our family, I won't mention them because they're too shy, but they're really clever, very crafty. And recently they've taken to making some things and selling them. Well, they've made some really good money out of it to the point where they could potentially make a business out of it. It's just something that they've been doing in their spare time, but they've done something that is very rare to be seen in this country. And it just pops out when people see it. It's just different. And anything that's different, well, there's potentially a market for it. I don't think we really have a choice. If we're moving to a new country, I think that in the long term, we really do have to open our minds to the possibilities, because I think the reality will come upon us where it will be very difficult, if not untenable, to think that we can live here permanently, but somehow skate around in a higher sphere and make our money online forever. Maybe that might be the case, but if I was a betting man, I think that we may be in for a shake-up. But whether that comes off or not, the fact is it probably just makes good sense to have an each-way bet. I don't see how a plan B can be viable when moving to another country if you are not making some form of income within the country, because surely we have a plan B, an alternative plan, just in the event that something may go wrong. Check this out. Oh man, they stack them on. Maybe there might be a business in teaching people how to load a truck or something. But ultimately, it's up to us. Are we comfortable with making our money only online or from foreign investments or whatever avenue we're making our money? Or do we feel more confident with also supplementing that, or maybe even replacing it with income that we're deriving from the country that we're now living in? Whichever way you go, I guess the important thing is just to have the information and to make the decisions based on the realities, not only of what's going on now, but what may come in the future. Because there's a reason why we're all here. Maybe it differs from person to person, but we're all living in the same world. And last time I stuck my head out of the turret, things were looking pretty shaky, to say the least. So it might be a good time just to consider shoring up our bets and making sure that if the tap's turned off, that at least we've got another source of funds just to keep our heads above water. But who knows? Time will tell, and in the end, everything will work out, as it always does. But it's an interesting question, and I actually really enjoy going down this rabbit hole for my own sake, because I think it's a really useful mental process to explore. But I also think it's a really important part of the equation that a lot of people maybe either overlook or don't give it perhaps the gravity that it deserves, because these things can change so quickly, and I don't think there's any reason to be confident that that won't perhaps be a factor sometime in the future. Time will tell. But anyway, enough of that. So until next time, take care. Ciao.